Hello, everybody, and welcome to FanSpeak Comics Reviews. Well, if that's what we end up calling it. But for today, that's what it is. And we're very happy to have you guys all with us. And we are going to be talking about the comic books that we are currently reading. That's the premise of this new show. We want to get more people in here and get more opinions and ideas of what's going on because we want to talk about things we like. A lot of times on the comics news today and FanSpeak, we're often talking about things that we don't like, things that we want to see change, and things we want to support to make those changes, which are wonderful things in the end. But we wanted to have at least a day where we talked about things that we really like, things that we're enjoying, a positive day. And why not Sunday, right? Isn't that the best time to do it? So now, just to let you know,
On the Lord's Day,
on the Lord's Day,
the
Joshua
Sabbath.
is over
Mm-hmm.
here. I
Why
did
go to
see him.
church when you can review comics with us?
That's true.
Hmm.
Exactly, right?
Hmm.
Of course, this is Sunday night, so I mean, come on.
Oh,
But
all
I
right.
did send a link to Manny if he wants to come over here and join us, and I sent a couple links to other people if they want to drop in here. But for right now, we're just the three of us here, and we all have a whole bunch of comic books we're going to talk about. So, and he says, "Hi, wee oiled bird." That's what you are
Hello
for now,
there.
Booster, I guess.
I guess that's my thing now. It's just oil and booster goes hand in hand now. It's something
I
I gotta
guess.
accept.
No, no, it's
Mm,
all in good fun, right? But
right.
of course, as you see, Booster and Denali are with me, and we got a bunch of stuff picked to talk about. So we definitely want to jump into that as quick as possible. But keep in mind that we have all our links down below for our fan speak on Facebook, as well links to me and other our other type of links. And we're very happy to have you guys with us. Just remember to, of course, hitting that like button and subscribing is obviously very, very useful to us. But hitting that share button is the best thing you can actually do, and let all your friends and family know what we're doing. But yeah, let's go ahead and just come over here, and we'll start out with Denali. And Denali, we're getting up close on that new year, and this has been a very productive year of comic book reading for you, it seems, huh?
Yeah, after I dropped it like around 2010.
So you come back
So,
with a vengeance, huh? I see.
yeah.
Yeah. How about you,
So
Booster? Have you been reading more comics recently, or because of the community, or you're pretty much a standard path you've been taking?
Oh, I always read a bunch of comics. I don't think I've read too much that other people recommend. I dip around here and there, but mostly just the same stuff for me. Steady as she goes, man. Like I pick up my Batman, I pick up my Daredevil, and anything boosted gold is in. Sadly, that hasn't made me come across the best comics as of late.
Oh, that's cool. Me personally, I've certainly picked up as of late, especially because I've been doing the reviews and such with Brad over on Pencil for Life.
mhm.
So I picked up some, but I've always read. I've always been reading. Unfortunately, the problem is it's becoming less and less things to read. Well, that's not true. There's actually more comics now, but less of them are actually worth reading. Which is what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about giving you guys some suggestions to what we like, and I don't know, maybe you'd like it too. But of course, what
Yeah.
we'd really like to do is have your opinion. This show, maybe more than all the other shows, I think is one we'd really like to see a lot of fans come over and be part of. So I'd really appreciate if you went down to the Facebook, you went down to the Twitter links for myself, and tell me, Chester, I want to be on the comic review show because we want to hear what you're reading. Yeah. We want to see what is it you're interested in, and share it with the community because maybe they'd like it too, or maybe they will agree with you or what have, or maybe you disagree. But Brad is trying to what me, John? Are you enjoying yourself on this Sunday evening, John? Goodness gracious. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start with Denali today. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share so everybody can see
Sharing
that.
is caring.
'Cause sharing is caring. Let me do something
Yeah.
real quick, though. Hold on a second. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I got to move some of this over real quick. It's not doing what I want it to do. All right. Let's see. This should fix it. And it does fix it. All right.
All
All right,
right.
rock on. So let's come back over here and get this up in the window. All right, there we go. Now, this is today's first offer from Denali. And Denali, why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
Right. This is a, Shrimshaw comic book with Alterna comics, so everybody probably hears about that, but it's one of those independent publishers. The writer on this is Eric Bolton, and the other writer who's also the artist is Spike Olochta. I do apologize, Spike, if I if I butchered your last name totally. But it's basically uh, the premise is a post-apocalyptic world where the ice caps has melted, kind of thinking of a water world, but not the whole world submerged, causing a whole destruction of the world order. And now the new order is corporations and individual city states, and we're following this group of ragtag mercenaries, pirates, what have you, as they kind of journey to a new location, trying to kind of survive, betrayals and abuse, and that's really what the premise about it. So the gentleman in the blonde is Captain's Hands. The That's his wife, who's Japanese. You got the Kiwi, which is the gentleman with the brown hair.
Hey,
And
wait a
then
minute.
yeah, no, he's literally, they say, and the Kiwi extraordinaire, in technical engineer in the
All
book.
right.
So he's a Kiwi.
Disgusting. This is
So,
racist.
so it looks like you Kiwis still survive. Don't know how you flightless birds survive submerge of your island, but it's all cool. And then you have Hans Helms, legendary helmsman. So we followed it.
It's
So we followed this.
Waterworld.
Yeah, it's water world basically with pirates and all that stuff.
And I've heard of this before.
Hmm.
I haven't read it myself, but I've heard it. I think the art is really keeping me away.
Yeah,
But Scrimshaw, of course, is the carving of whalebone into objects, often pipes or things like that.
right. So it's kind of like this is they're carving what's left of the world and moving through the uh, oceans that's been changed due to the whole destruction of the ice cap and changing of all everything. So this is just the remnants of what's left,
I see.
um, and that's why it's called shrimp shawl. But no, I do agree with you. The art kind of, it's really heavily stylized. What you see there, it's what you see in interior, where it's good, but then sometimes it's too busy that it distracts as well.
I'm not a
And
big fan of this style, but
right, and that's kind of what it kind of put me off as well. But I decided, well, it's $1.50. It's not going to hurt me that much, and if I don't like it, I don't have to continue reading it. But
that's
but
true.
I enjoy the premise of it,
It's like an
and
even scratchier Sean Gordon Murphy.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. But Murphy catches my attention,
Hmm.
But I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things actually. This has been
right.
recommended by many people, so it's certainly something that people are enjoying. And of course, I'd like to know what the chat thinks. So, guys, put your opinion over there. But let's move over to our next one here, and we'll go to Booster. Okay, unless
Mm-hmm.
you had something more you want to say about Scrimshaw, Booster.
Nope, I haven't been reading this, I'm afraid.
Well,
I've
here's
yet
one of
to
Booster's
pick up
that he
much.
wants to talk about today. So go ahead,
My
Booster.
man. That's my boy Daredevil, and yeah, that's everything I read is it's usually Daredevil. I love me some damn Daredevil, and I've just been picking up Frank Miller's stuff, Volume 2. It's excellent. What else can I really say? I've just picked up Volume 3. I'm going to be reading that soon once I'm done with everything else. Uh, just read Frank Miller's Daredevil. Just do it. It lives up to the hype, lads. I promise.
Now this isn't a Frank Miller Daredevil, but I just like this picture.
No, but that is actually also one of my favorite runs is the Ryan Michael Bendis run because that
No, this is a good Bendis run. It absolutely is.
it is something good that Bendis did. So it works out, and Alex
does.
Marleve's art freaking carries it. Oh,
It is
Lordy.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, Daredevil lends to the Benton style. That's why it's a good run. It's one of the few characters that you can break them, and that's the purpose of Daredevil.
Absolutely.
I see
And
it
he has
as
been broken all over the place, hasn't he? Especially by Frank Miller, because he was a silly, kind of happy, swashbuckling hero before Frank Miller got his hands on him and grittied him up, turned him into a bit of a noir character with Eastern influences, with ninjas and everything. I think it was just everything Frank Miller was just watching at the time or something. He chucked into Daredevil and did a great job with it.
Yep,
And
and
really changed comics.
And then turned Karen into a drug addict that revealed his identity to Kingpin.
Ooh, the things that he did to poor Karen Page. Whew, boy.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Bendis is he has a hateful, angry view of life and the world. He has no happiness in him, it seems. At least
Right,
when
right.
he writes.
But the Karen Page wasn't Bendis. It was Frank Miller.
I'm just talking about what Bendis did, how he thinks.
Bendis.
But the thing with Frank Miller is he's not that different from Bendis. Frank Miller has a negative, angry, unhappy view of things. He wants to deconstruct stuff. He doesn't like heroes, I think. I mean, that's what I feel from Frank Miller. The same thing I feel from Bendis.
I mean,
they
the
just work.
quintessential. I mean, think about it. The quintessential hero, which is Superman, is this. He hates that character with a passion. So it tells you a lot. If you hate Superman with a passion, then you know where you kind of draw your line. I mean, you can dislike him, or you can not care for him. But if you actively hate him, you know where you stand.
Asuka over here says, talking about Scrimshaw, the art takes a bit of getting used to. Yeah, Denali said the same thing. But it sounds like the story is really good. Like I said, I've heard a lot of positive stuff about that. Bendis, Paul Hassat says, Bendis has good runs until 2016, 2017. Okay. It just matters his material. If he's dealing with something that's dark and anti establishment or something like that, he does it well. Dave says, well, if you looked like Bendis, you'd feel that way too.
Yeah.
I just feel that Bendis phones it in almost every time he gets the chance to.
I think the only one that I kind of enjoyed from Bendis has been his Power Run. I think that's like the only one I feel he doesn't phone in at times. But otherwise, the other one, and it's kind of the same pattern. Like when creators are writing for legacy character, it's kind of phoning it in. But when they're writing for their own character, you see where they're really good and creative. Yeah, and that's kind of a shame for it as well, because you should, you're kind of stewards for these legacy characters, and you should be giving your all. Not to say that they aren't, but that's the perception that we're getting, and from what we're reading.
All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else to mention with Daredevil, of course, I've read the entire Frank Miller run. Some of them twice. It's really good. We did a Bugbear's Basement on Daredevil itself, and talking about the specific issue, which had the Punisher in it. Or that was Spider-Man. Sorry, what was the Daredevil one we did?
It was, I think it was 181. It was mostly about Bullseye, and it was about Bullseye versus Elektra.
And it was
one lives, one dies.
That's right. Yeah, this is a great run. It is a great run. But Daredevil has many great runs. That's a good thing about Daredevil. And one of the not good runs of Daredevil is one that is done by a certain gentleman by the name of Mark Waid. Do not read him.
Poison your brain. Rubbish. Yeah. Just rubbish stuff.
All right. Well, let's move on to one of my choices. Now, I kind of doubled them up here on the page, but first, let me talk about the one on the right-hand side. And I'll talk about the other one later.
So you did follow up on that one.
I did. Yes. Now, here's the thing. I read this Monstrous. Now, this is interesting. This is being written by a Chinese lady, or I'll say an American Chinese lady, and a Japanese, and the art is being done by a Japanese lady. So it's two ladies, okay?
Ladies.
And pretty much every character in it is female. There's hardly any males in it at all. So already you would say, oh, this is a piece of feminist crap. What are you doing reading it, Chester? Well, the thing is, there's no feminism in it at all. It's just a couple of ladies writing books about females because that's what they are and that's what they like, I think. But if you
Nothing wrong with
so
that.
well, nothing wrong with it at all. But I mean,
Hmm.
just the initial synopsis, I think, would push a lot of people off because you would assume it's just another one of those things, one of this feminist crap we've been getting these days, and that's a problem, right? Because that is happening a lot. There's a lot of stuff coming out that you don't want to even touch it because it's like, oh, it's just more of this. It's just we're getting sick of it, right?
Right. Kind of like your reaction with Sarah that
Uh,
other day.
yeah, exactly. It's just I've had enough, But uh, getting past that and reading this, there's none of that nonsense in this book. This is book written from a point of love. I think they put a lot of work into this. The art is really good, uh, more than
Yeah,
really good.
this
It's
art's
great.
beautiful. I'm having a
It's
look at it now.
stunning art. And the story is really solid. This lady Marjorie here, she has built a solid story with a solid cosmology, and she's there's a lot you could feel the love coming out of it for her. This is a passion project, I believe. And I've read through most of the first, I guess, what would be called the first season or the first volume
Yeah.
of
First
it,
trade
and
volume. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's really good, guys. It's dark. It's not for kids, that's for sure.
Hmm.
And,
But
and that's something we're going to be mentioning a lot.
Yeah, well, here's the thing though. This is adult in the right way. This isn't just, a bunch of, F-bombs and nudity. This is adult theme because it's dark and the situation is quite serious.
Okay,
Um,
but is there F bombs and nudity?
I don't think there are any F-bombs in it. There might be one
Ah,
or two. A little
darn.
bit of dark humor, dark language, but and there might be a shot or two of nudity, but that's not the point.
Awesome.
It's a really good book. I've really enjoyed it, and I suggest that you read it, even though it sounds like something many of us wouldn't read just on principle alone. But trust, this is not what's going on here. This is a good idea, and it has a lot. It's weird because it's written by Marjorie, who's sounds like she's an American, Chinese American,
I think
but
she's Canadian.
or Canadian. Okay, but she's
Yeah.
Western.
Hmm.
Yes.
And but the artist, there's a huge amount of Japanese influence in this, not only in the writing. So I'm having a feeling that the artist has had a big impact on the writer, actually, in this case. But this is I like this book. Anybody have any? You guys have read this or have any opinions of this?
No, but I might check it out. It looks cool. I
It
just
is.
saw some
Yeah.
previews of the art. I love the art. A little too, homogenized with the colors in some places. I'm noticing a lot of browns all
Oh
over
yeah,
the place.
and
Yeah.
that's consistent. So,
Hmm. Yeah.
but they do
Okay.
use color quite interestingly sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sana uh, Takeda is a Japanese illustrator, so that's why you're seeing a lot of Japanese
Yeah,
influence.
yeah, but I don't mean just in the. I would expect that in the art, but I'm talking in the storytelling too. This is
Hmm.
very much the Japanese, old animism, Shintoism type of thing is going on here, which is not Chinese, right? The Chinese, form of animism is so long lost that it's not even applicable. But of course, the Japanese still embrace it.
Hmm.
So that was my point. But the point is, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. So.
Jeff Chester says Japanese word like he Japanese. Well, dude, I lived
Mm.
most of my adult life in Japan. But anyway, that's my offer. Let's move on to another one of Denali's. I'll just go right
Okay.
down the road, Denali.
Are you
Sure.
sure DeWolf didn't submit this one?
No, that's for me for sure. Here's another one. It's got a couple of Denali's here. And go ahead, Denali.
All right. So I'll go with an alternative comics that I'm reading, Tinsel Town, and this is about set in the early 1900s with the first a fictional first female police officer character.
Hmm.
But bearing that, there were uh, real female police officers that were part of the force. And this one has Utopia Studio, which is a stand-in for Universal Studios, where she's patrolling, the crimes, the corruptions, and everything that's going on there. Abigail Moore is the main protagonist, and it starts getting trippy after a while. But the premise is kind of what drew me in, and kind of see, what they're going to bring with that. So it's another one I took chance just because of the low price range, and also it's a 5-issue miniseries. So I'm expecting that this has a beginning, middle, and end, and that also intrigues me as well. So that's what I've been reading as well from alternate
Well, that's interesting.
publishing.
Booster, have you read this book?
I'm afraid I haven't picked up anything from Alterna yet. It's always been sitting there in my wish list on Comixology, but I have yet to pick the stuff up. They're so cheap, though. I don't know why I don't just hit click. But I'm not sure which of the Alterna ones are the best, to kind of dive into.
Right, because it's an unknown, right?
Yeah,
what it is.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But I see Brad, who was over streaming, has decided to join us. Hello, Brad.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. All right, he gave up. He quit. We are now
Quit.
victorious.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, Chester Sun is getting far too many viewers. I can't compete with this.
I never compete with Chester. Chester's a cool dude.
No. Yes.
Yeah, because you can't compete with Chester.
Oh, goodness gracious.
He is more manly than I am. Yep.
As far as my comments on it, I have not read it yet, but it's got an interesting thing. I think I do have a bias in this way, in the fact that if it doesn't have some kind of preternatural or natural or what would I say, paranormal touch to it, I'm not interested. I don't know what it is. I can't. I'm really not good at reading those stories that are just stories. I don't know why. That's just me. But I really am not good at that. Now, Brad, we know you read a ton of comic books. Have you read this Tinsel Town?
Tinsel Town? No, I didn't get my copy in from when I ordered it from Diamond. It came damaged completely. It was ripped in half.
Oh, wow.
Wow. That's
yeah. Well, it happens sometimes with shipping. So, yeah.
How can that doesn't make sense? It's like it
happens when they pack the boxes. Like some of the guys will just throw them in the boxes, and it's not Diamond Corporate's fault. It's their stupid packer, and then they just bounced around during shipment, and dude, they tear it up. I had a whole box of Darth Vader 23 from the first run. The whole corners got smashed in, so I had to replace all those books. Yeah.
You know what's funny, and this is a side tangent. I was looking when you were talking about getting the preview guy from Diamond on your show. I was looking at Diamond Comics Distributions.
Oh yeah,
and one of the things I was watching is the new facility that they were doing in I think Mississippi or Tennessee. I can't remember which one, and it's kind of funny that you were mentioning that, because that's some of the things that me and my local comic book shop were looking at. It's like, look at this on their video that they're posting on their YouTube channel. You see their packers kind of slam the books in and push it and kick it down the road. I'm like, no wonder you get damages. There should be better care. It's cool that you have this whole big warehouse, but if the people who are packing it are not being careful, then you're damaging your product and causing more work for yourself and more work for the company.
So there was one time I got 30 issues of Deja Thoris, and I only ordered 2, and we were missing 30 issues of Action Comics $9.99. So I was like, oh, okay. So because they're not looking at the book titles, they're just looking at the numbers. I guess they were put in the wrong spot. You know? So
yeah.
What gets me is I have to pay for them to ship them back. And then I have to pay for them to ship them out to me.
Yeah.
they don't charge me for the books,
Well,
which bugs me.
from my point of view, because I've had to deal with things like this before in a slightly different situation, but if I were running, Diamond, that would not be happy because people would be fired.
Oh,
And I hear this story all the time. It's
yeah.
not just you.
There's a
I
whole
would be,
fandom group on Facebook about it.
yeah, no, I would be absolutely livid as a boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, let me grab this chat before we move on real quick. Let's see. I think this is coming from Asuka. I think Sana Takeda is a great artist. Pure merit right there. Her Miss Marvel is sexy. Yet it's really good art. We're talking about Monstrous. Let's
Mm.
see. Dina says Chester's waifu is Japanese. Yeah, she is. She's right here near me. Got my kids in the room too. Back from the university. Jen Dillard says something unimportant. Uh, Model 3 says, that is a feature. They rip alternative books in half to save you shipping costs. Very nice.
I guess. Yeah.
that,
Asuka
that,
says,
that might be a topic you could broach with your contacts. Say, hey, is there any way to fix that? Or
yeah, no,
maybe
they need to deal with that. I've been hearing way too much about that. That is unprofessional.
Mm.
Asuka says, yes, we know Chester is a weeaboo gaijin otaku. John says, why is this guy on the cover of Tinsel Town wearing a blouse? Huh? Oh, I see. He's being
But
sexist. I get it. Ha
oh,
ha ha
that's
ha ha.
naughty.
Let's see. Dina says that Marjorie Liu is a half-blooded American. Okay, is that? Are you happy about that, or are you angry about that? I'm not. It's hard to tell with
He
you.
is impure.
She is impure. Take her out the back and cut off her
no.
head.
I think she's just correcting us when we were talking about the writer earlier.
Oh, that's fine. Because I like the book. You guys should
Yeah.
read it. It's interesting. I was talking about Monstrous, Brad.
Yeah. Great book.
It's a great book. Yeah, and it's weird because Brad wasn't here, so, but because Brad and I talked a little bit about it before, but because when I first started getting into it, there's like hardly any male characters. It's like all female, right? I mean,
Hmm.
literally. And I was like, oh, here we go again. But it's not. It's
No.
really well done. It's a passion project, dude. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And it's still going on.
It is
Yeah.
still going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see what I was doing. I just want to finish up chat. Trusty Sidekick says, oh, I come back and see Tinsel Town, one of my favorite alternative titles. Sweet. You got a fan over here, Janelli.
Yep. I
And
mean,
that
it's a
is,
good book. You have to just keep an open mind things, or else you're end up not gonna read anything because you're like, I don't like this. It's kind of like how I started with watching a lot of Japanese drama. I don't know what I like, so I watch them all to figure out what I like. And I remember I definitely don't like White Christmas. Have you ever watched that Japanese drama show, Chester?
No.
I do my best to not go anywhere near Japanese drama, seeing as it's so awful.
But you don't know if you like it or not until you watch it.
I know, Janelli. I know.
Yeah. But but the point I was getting with that analogy is like you don't know if you like the property or not until you actually read it.
That's true. Dina here has, I think, what I would call fake news. She said she's talking about Marjorie again. She says her dad is Taiwanese, which is cool, and her mom is American of French, Scottish, and Irish descent. It's definitely not true. Couldn't be possible. There's no way a Scotsman or an Irishman would marry a damn Frenchman.
Unless they were drunk enough.
Yeah.
If they stayed drunk, well, I guess they are Irish or Scottish.
Yeah. Yeah. Just pour enough alcohol in them, and they'll do anything.
John
like
Dillard
Booster.
says Chester lied to me. The Giza Plateau is not man-made. Yes, it is, John. So you've been reading fake news too. Anyway, let's continue. Denali, go ahead and talk about this Venomized. I know this is a newer one.
Right. So this is following up, I guess, the story of Venomverse storyline.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I haven't read that, so I came into this blind because I was asking my local comic book shop, is there anything that isn't crap? And he's like, well, the lesser crap is this storyline. so to speak. So aside marks from my local comic book shop when he says that. And this one is really like I guess a war between the symbiotes are happening with a symbiont god, and they're shooting like these mind controlled symbiotes to all the heroes to kind of draft them into this army of the hives. So the premise kind of intrigued me. Normally I would be like, you know, what they're doing is just making the symbiont less special by having everybody have symbiotes. But then I kind of took that biasness away from it. It's like, let me see what the story actually wants to say. You know, because you have Spider-Man who has history on it, and you kind of see what the other characters react wearing symbiotes and seeing where their storylines go. And one of the plot points that they're doing is they capture the host of Carnage, who I guess had some freak accident because he's missing his arms and half of his body. And they're trying to combine him with another Venom's symbiote and seeing how that progressed. So that's the first issue that I was reading with this.
Sounds interesting, but it's got fake Thor on the cover, and it's got that weird little communist girl down there.
Yeah, the one who's Miss Marvel-ish. But anyway, I kind of focused on the story and not so much them, and see where they go, because this is a Eddie Brock story that happens to have all these other characters in there, since we're dealing with Venom.
Well, you know, since it's just, you know, Venom up here, first of all, Booster and Brad, you guys read this Venomized at all?
I didn't. Go ahead, Mister.
I was going to say, I must confess, the only thing in Marvel I've been reading recently is Daredevil. That's the only Marvel book I've been picking up. I haven't been going into any of their event stuff or what have you, or symbiotes, and I get confused with Marvel. I don't know where to start.
Okay,
I personally have not read this one. I was reading some of the regular Venom storyline, but not this one. So
there you go. To be honest, which this is going to be controversial, I'm sure you guys will yell at me, but I've never cared for Venom.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How dare you have differing opinions?
Sorry.
On a comic book show, no less.
I know,
disgusting.
Dude. I much prefer the Sinister Six as far as Spider-Man Rivals and, you know, his Rogues Gallery. I've just never been a Venom fan.
Just Venom or symbiotes in general?
Well, it extends to all of it because I just don't really care much about the concept of it, dude. I just never did. I mean, I'm more of a child of the 70s and 80s when it comes to comic books. I certainly did read through the 90s, especially in 95, 96. I started started reading again. But yeah, I just never cared for Venom. Never got into it. I just didn't grow up with it.
I kind of do miss when a comic book villain was kind of like Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery or Flash's Rogue Gallery, where they were just kind of bank robbers, you know?
Oh, yeah, that too. Yeah.
Mm.
But I like when he's fighting Doc Ock and the Vulture and Rhino and all that kind of stuff. I just enjoy those comics quite a bit. And I do enjoy the comic where every now and then with Peter, one of the things you get with Peter, you don't get a lot with others, is just Peter going around the city dealing with bank robbers, like Booster just said. Just a kind of a typical patrol book where he's just dealing with the simplest thing, you know, they do that with Spider-Man. They don't do that a lot with other guys. I guess it's just something that really suits Spider-Man, but I do enjoy those as well, Booster. That's true. All right, well, let's move on. So we did a couple of Denali's. Let's go pick up on one of Booster's here. Now, Booster's got a couple here on this page. Why don't you go over those two, dude?
Right, we should have a segment of the show called Booster just gets around to reading books that all the old blokes in the chat have read decades ago. But I liked Nightfall. I liked Nightfall.
Oh, wow. You're now a big boy.
I'm a big boy now. I just got around to reading Nightfall. I'm on volume 3 now. And actually, it's excellent.
You do realize it's quite the opposite emotion coming from us. In a way, I think we probably feel envious of you. Because you get to read them again. You get to read them for the first time, right?
Yeah. And it's great stuff, man. So much better than anything coming out today. These bloody volumes are about 600 pages each. And I can flick through them, you know? I have no trouble reading them. They are great reads. And Vengeance of Bane is one of the best books out there. You know, we were talking about the art of the single shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Vengeance of Bane is 2 issues, but it counts, right? No? Screw it. Vengeance of Bane is some of the best books out there. Full stop. And Nightfall is just awesome. And we're just on volume 3 now for me. And Batman has just come back from having his back broken and being just destroyed mentally. He's come back from the brink of absolute destruction and kicked Azrael the hell off his throne. It's just mwah, gorgeous. I love it.
It is good. Hellblazer is a great book.
Since you're reading a lot of Daredevil, just to jump back, because a question was asked in the chat booster, is any of the current Daredevil any good?
Oh, I think it's good. I don't think any of it has been excellent, right? But none of it has been trash. You know, none of it has been the usual Marvel crap, right? And to me, being subscribed to a character you like, where everything is just middle to low good, I think that's worthy to keep picking up. You know, especially when every now and then Charles Soule does write something absolutely excellent, and I think the absolute earlier issues of his run has some incredible artwork. And soon, Chip Zdarsky is going to be picking up Daredevil from the reins of Charles Soule. So I'm looking forward to that, to see how he handles Daredevil.
Starts next week, right?
Yep, very soon with Man Without Face. I am looking forward to that because unless we get jokey Chip Zdarsky, then I'm scared. I'm terrified for Daredevil.
He's horrible. He's horrible at comedy.
But when he writes serious, he does some great stuff. That's what I want for Daredevil.
Well, hopefully he goes with the seriousness and keep the jokey stuff to a minimal. You know, some people are good with comedy. Some people are bad at comedies. So, you know, everybody has their own strengths.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's
That's
funny
all
when you mentioned Charles Soule, the first thing that comes to mind is Thomas Sowell.
Oh, yes.
The Economist. I love listening to that guy talk.
I know. He's very good.
Yeah. Sorry.
Ooh, what's this? Joker's Devil Advocate by Chuck Dixon, says Nick W. I like the sound of that. I will check that out. Chuck Dixon can do no wrong.
Chuck is a good writer, for sure. What about you, Brad? What do you think of these 2 titles here?
Nightfall is always great, dude. Nightfall's great. And I haven't read that Hellblazer book, that particular one. Look who did the artwork.
Yep, Sean Murphy.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to have to look at that one as soon as I can.
Good read, good read.
Yeah, Nightfall was classic. So I always recommend that one to people who want to get into Batman and stuff like that. So
I believe because we've read Tokyo Ghoul on your recommendation, I love the art that much.
Ghost,
and excuse me, Tokyo Ghost. Uh-oh. I don't watch anime.
Very different. Yes.
I don't watch anime.
Well, that is an interesting storyline they have going on with Tokyo Ghoul, to be fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, after we read Tokyo Ghost, and I loved Sean Murphy's artwork so much, I had to check out his work on Hellblazer. I love me some John Constantine, especially when he's written by a Brit. All right, he has to be written by a Brit. Americans can't write John Constantine. Not allowed. I forbid it. I segregate it.
We let you play our superheroes.
I don't care.
The thing I have to say with, of course, Batman Nightfall is, it's good. I haven't read all of it. But Constantine, Hellblazer in particular, I've read everything.
Everything?
Oh, yes. I've read everything John Constantine. It's one of my favorite books since I first found it. So I've certainly read this, and I've read all the other stuff. There's just, I can't even think, there's hundreds of Constantine books.
I love Garth Ennis is probably my favorite. Dangerous Habits was a great read.
Actually, that's what got me into Garth Ennis.
Yeah, good stuff. Awesome stuff.
Which led me to The Boys, which is awesomeness.
I still haven't gone around to read The Boys. I might get around to that.
It's like The Boys. It has a beginning and an end.
Yep.
Oof.
I gotta.
You guys like the Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Brad.
I was going to ask if you guys liked the Constantine TV show before they canceled it.
It was all right.
It was all right.
It wasn't
Alright.
really gritty Constantine. They camped it up for TV, but it was all
A little
right.
bit, yeah. I thought it was good.
I liked Matt Ryan as Constantine a lot. I think he's a place
Yeah.
spitting image of the guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, it needed to be harder. But
Mm.
yeah, and the animated series that just came out, not series, the movie that just came out
Mm-hmm.
wasn't bad.
Did
But
you
yeah,
say
no,
Did you say
they
it was
went-
bad or?
wasn't bad.
I thought it was great. Yeah, I
Okay.
thought it was really good.
So you're a
And
little low, Chester.
am I? Well, let me turn
Low,
myself up.
low.
How about that? Is that better?
Turn
Yeah,
yourself
better,
up,
yeah.
Chester. Speak to us. Enunciate your
All right,
words.
there you go. Are you
Yeah.
feeling me now? Are
Oh,
you feeling
there
me
we
now?
go.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah,
You're scaring
it's
me.
awesome.
You're
Yeah.
scaring me, Chester. You're scaring me.
It's like you're
But-
in my heart.
Yeah,
All right.
but I like Constantine in the current Justice League Dark run that's happening with Wonder Woman, Swamp Thing, Man Bat, Zatanna. Have you read that, Brad?
I've not read the book. No, it does sell out all the time though. I did watch they did the Justice League Dark animation, which I watched, but
All right.
that was good.
May I say something slightly controversial?
You
Sure.
keep saying controversial stuff,
Yeah,
but
we
it ends
know
up
it's
being a
gonna be
wet
bad.
noodle.
I know. That's the joke, Janelli. I absolutely love the Keanu Reeves Constantine.
Okay,
I know
that is
it-
controversial.
No, I love it, dude. It's not really Constantine. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I do
It's an
actually think it was a pretty
adaptation.
sweet movie.
I love that flick. It is a movie
Right.
I can. It's my guilty pleasure. I can watch that.
Yeah, I can
anytime.
watch it over and over.
I was like 13 when that movie came out, so yeah, of course I thought it was cool.
You're dating yourself. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, no, but that movie is got a great pace. It's just a really solid, well done movie. I love that movie.
All right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you guys can hate me if you want. It's okay.
I could never hate you, Chester.
Oh.
Well,
right,
Chester's
let's-
begging to be hated, but it's not going to happen today.
I'm trying, right? I'm trying. Well, now
He's going, hurt me, Daddy. Hurt me, Booster Chan.
Oh my goodness gracious! And you say you're
Well,
not a weeboo because
yeah. A lot of we. So Asuka says, wouldn't bank robbery decrease over time in a superhero world? I mean, who's gonna rob a bank when Spider-Man or Batman's out there, or is it just something that always happened? Well, it's like, kind of like the same thing. It's not going to stop crime. It'll probably be even urge the criminals to be even bolder. Say, hey, let's see if I can rob the bank and get away with it against this costume clown, so to speak.
I think desperate people are still going to do desperate things, even in the superhero universe. So, because even with superheroes running around, it's not a utopia.
Mhm.
Everybody has issues. So,
Well, and you can, speaking of manga, we can actually use that in a proper way because My Hero Academia, actually one of the, there's a lot of very Japanese things going on there, which I hate, but there's also some very cool things going on. The creator of that is absolutely a little genius. He's so clever in how he takes the standard powers we know from comic books and twists them into something very interesting. But what he's doing in this story, it's a very good story, is we have this ultra Superman type character who he won his last battle, but he's lost his power and he's gone. So the threat is this guy who no one wanted to mess with, who kept crime way down, is gone. So all the villains are trying to take their shot, and the world is really getting really starting to roil up. And it's very interesting. So that concept, taking that idea and using it as your story base is actually works out really well. I don't know if anyone has watched or seen My Hero Academia, but it's got some good qualities to it.
I have.
it's probably the best manga out right now.
Yeah,
It is very good. Yeah,
Mm.
but
and not to mention that the author is also a big Marvel fan as well. So there you go.
He is,
and
yeah.
Paul says, Chester, I raise you stakes as I enjoy the Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Well, you know what? The director's cut is not that bad.
No, director's cut's great. I own it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because the original theatrical one is horrible. I mean, it's really bad. It's amazing how much a director's cut can actually change something. Now, I think one of the
Absolutely.
things the director's cut does is Ben speaks less,
Mhm.
and that probably helps.
We don't really hear often about how much a producer can save a movie because I think they probably have turned around a lot of terrible decisions that directors have made.
Yeah,
Sometimes they get in the way a middle too much.
that's true.
Well, especially if they're
Yeah.
if they're run by the
Mhm.
studio or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I have my next offer up here, and it is interesting that DeWolf is not here because this is his favorite superhero, and the only reason I read it, because I know Marvel Boy. I mean, the one I talked about last week, Agents of Atlas, has got Marvel Boy in it, but of course he's a different character than this. But
Mhm.
I never really read Quasar. I mean, he'd show up in a comic here or there, of course, but I never read him. But I went and read him because DeWolf is so, so enthused and so involved. It's his favorite character. You always talk about Quasar, so I went and read it, and I'm still reading it. There's a lot to read, but I like it. It's really good, man. It's old, but it's well written. It's interesting story. Is what's going on is dynamic. It's not this straightforward. I'm the superhero that can do anything and no one can stop me. No, there's a lot of nuance going on in this book, and I suggest you go read it. This is a really good book. It kind of flies under most people's radar, but I don't think it should. Now, to be fair, Quasar is basically the Green Lantern of Marvel Comics, even though he would be more of a Yellow Lantern, I guess, as far as the
Is he
color.
is he weak to yellow or green?
No,
No.
they don't cut out all the cosmology of the Green Lantern
I see.
Corps and all that kind of stuff. But he basically uses his energy to create shapes. His power is very similar to a Green Lantern.
Structures, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Constructions.
which is probably what kept me away from it because I mean, DC and Marvel are always taking each other's characters and trying to outdo them. And a lot of when you see something so obvious like Quasar, it's kind of like eh. But no, I suggest you read it. Anybody here read it?
Yeah, I
Mm.
have.
What do you think?
No, it's very good. I can see why the Wolf was so enamored with this character in the storyline because it deals with a lot of self confidence, and that's the biggest problem he has is self confidence to do what he needs to do because he's been chosen to do this cosmic level stuff, and he's always grappling with that. Um, but I get why it got canceled after 60 issues as well, because no kid wanted to read a superhero that lacks self confidence, in dealing with those kind of issue. And
That's
in
true.
that regard, it turned the kids off, which would be the main demographic for this comic book.
Yes, but this is for adults. This isn't for kids at all.
No, but it was aimed for kids. That's why it got canceled.
Yeah, no,
Remember
I
that?
get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was in the heyday where you have to sell 100,000 copies at minimum or you get canceled.
that's true.
And unfortunately, the kids that read this, either you had some that were like the Wolf, which were like 100,000, but a lot of kids were like, "This isn't good. The superhero's kind of lame because he's always self-doubting himself and getting in situations, that's kind of like, I don't want to deal with this. I want a Spider-Man who's like, he'll joke around. He's like a
True.
depressed guy who's, whiny,
Yeah,
basically."
but it's more subtle than say a Captain Britain, which I think they
Right.
were way heavy-handed with.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is that kids didn't gel with his personality.
Yeah, no.
And
Yeah.
because of that, that's why this series kind of got canceled as it did.
What do you think, Brad?
I don't know Quasar. Haven't read it, so I got no opinion on it.
Interesting.
Sorry.
That's too bad. How about you? There, Booster?
Yeah, looks like a guy. He
Wow.
shoots the
Okay.
lasers with the
So it's just
structures and
it's
he's a
just you and
flying
me.
man.
Just you and me, Denali. Okay.
I'll have to
Yeah.
think of it.
But
It was before I got into comics, so
yeah, well, yeah, I like it actually. I think it's a good read, especially from if you as an adult. I see what Janelle's saying, and he's completely right. But as an adult, I can appreciate the story and the dialogue and the narration is well written. It's a good book. I like it a lot, but I think it is age specific. I'd agree with that. But maybe Marvel Boy is more fun. Uh, for sure. Of course, that's a completely different character. Marvel Boy, I think his name is Grayson, or I think that's his name. But
Right.
they do connect the stories eventually, but
Mhm.
it is very different. Anyway, that's mine. Let's move on to another one. Let me
sure.
see here. Let's see. I did mine, so we'll go back to Denali. Let's see. We did those two. Oh, here we go. Let's do this one. Now, I think a lot of people are going to have an opinion on this.
Oh, what's the
Silencer,
name
yeah.
of this one again?
The Silencer.
The Silencer. Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead,
okay.
Denali.
So yeah, so it's this character is actually an original character created by John Romita Jr. and
Ramita.
Dan Ramita, sorry, John Romita Jr. and Dan Abernathy, which is basically a former League of Assassin under Talia al Ghul, who left that life, and she has the powers to create bubbles that cancel out any sounds, which is kind of helpful in her position when she uses a lot of guns
Sure.
to kill her objects. So the first issue that I was reading was her trying to stay with her family, you know, not get back into the world, but then Talia comes back and all these other organizations are trying to hunt for Talia, and she gets involved and she has to kick ass, pretty much.
Yeah, and now I know I've read this. I think most of us have. This is the new hero drop that DC did. I don't know what they
Correct.
called it, but this
New Age of Heroes.
the new age of
Yeah.
heroes. Thank you very much. Uh, this was a good book, man. It was well written. It wasn't nonsense that we see once again these days when we see new female character. We're like, oh, here we go, right? But it's not. It's really good actually. I like this book, and they went and canceled it. They had no patience or faith with it at all.
Well, they canceled all their new hero books,
They
pretty
did.
much.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's dumb. I mean, and Denali and I were talking about this earlier. It seems to me that somebody up above said do this. They did it, but they didn't want to do it, and they just kind of just put it out there and just put no love behind it, no marketing, no nothing, and they just let it die as quick as they possibly could. It's what it feels like to me. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know if that's true, but that's how it feels to me because some of these characters were really good. They all weren't, but the Silencer was really good. I like that Sideways. I mean, there was some good stuff, man, and they just
I
let it
love the
die.
Terrifics myself.
Yeah. Well, I've always
Really
liked
like.
Mr. Terrific. I like him. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know, but it's unfortunate. But that's my opinion. What do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I think it was canceled too soon. I definitely think they should have kept around a bit, because having new heroes with a popular book like that one just canceled for no reason is stupid. Like I had a lot of readers at my shop who were disappointed when they announced they're canceling that book. So I think it was dumb, but they should have left it around. I think it would have been good.
Sadly,
we
her
get it.
sales weren't doing that well.
Yeah, well, like
Well, I mean,
Denali
her
said, they
sales though
weren't
were
pushing
steady
it.
though. Her sales were steady. They weren't. I mean, granted, the first issue, there's always a drop off after the first issue, but between issues 3 and through the rest, it was all the same. It was all steady. So
I think one of the big problems of the book, though, is this incredibly unattractive character. Not only the
yeah,
costume, the lead
costume.
herself, she just is unattractive, man. And you got to have. I mean, that costume is so important. We forget sometimes how important that costume design is, because if you got the right costume design, that pulls. It's like that Superior Spider-Man we were doing. I'm not interested in that, but even though it's really well written and beautiful art. But that costume is killer, dude.
Yeah,
That is a great Spider-Man costume.
love the Superior Spider-Man costume. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. It is.
And we have a DeWolf.
Because we were talking Quasar and he heard it through the nether.
Yeah.
My
Hello.
Quasar senses are too.
They are, yes.
Yeah,
His nether regions were tingling.
yeah, that's exactly what's happened.
How you doing, DeWolf?
Go ahead, DeWolf. I know you have an opinion. You want to come in and say something about Quasar.
Yeah, well, you know, I was having dinner with the family, and then all of a sudden there was like this cosmic pull, and I had to go and check to see what was going on. And here's Chester is talking Quasar, and well, first off, I got to say I appreciate what you had to say for it. Yeah, about the story, the nuance, and everything that was going on with it, and that you were enjoying it and reading more. So that was cool to have that level of validation. And I'm not going to add any much more at that point, except that I think Quasar is going to be my next pick for what we do on the Bugbear's Basement on some upcoming Tuesday.
We should, dude. We should.
Yeah.
It's a good book. I like it. I like it a lot,
Yeah.
actually. I never read Quasar. I mean, I know Marvel Boy well because so many comics I've read had him in it. I don't know if I remember him having his own comic book, but I know Marvel Boy.
How do you know Marvel Boy? He was the previous, you know, forerunner that wore the quantum bands, and he shot light out, and that's about it. He didn't know the power that he wielded. Basically, is how they tried to write Marvel Boy.
Well, because Marvel Boy was a very early character. Matter of fact, he might even been from Timely. I don't know.
Yeah,
he might be
he
before
was.
Marvel.
He was part of the Marvel family.
But you got to keep in mind, though, that I used to get a comic a week from my grandmother. She would go down. I'd take a walk with her down to the convenience store, and I get to take one off the spinner rack. And mostly it was Marvel. But my uncle, Dave, he had a literal steamer trunk full of comic books that he gave me because I was like the only kid that was cousin that was reading comics, and it was full of all that old DC, old timely comics, old stuff, and there was a whole bunch of that in there, dude. That's why that's how I know him, right?
Now that makes sense, yeah. And he showed up a little bit in some of the Avenger things, and I think Fantastic Four, and then later on. They transitioned out of him. That's the old era. My goodness, Marvel Boy was very old era. They got rid of him eventually, and then supposedly the quantum bands, of course, sat on the shelf and were being investigated by Project Pegasus and Tony Stark and Reed Richards as to what they are and what do they do. And you know, lo and behold, poof. You know, the storyline means that Quasar comes around, and at that time he came around. It was a story that happened once again early time Shield, you know, stuff that was going on. He did not have his own comic. That was early 70s. I didn't even know about Quasar at that moment. And then he showed up, like you said. He was in the Avengers. He was an Avenger for a while. He took a couple of stories, Marvel 2-in-1s with the Thing.
Yep.
You know.
Thundara, what's her name? What's the big Titana?
Thundara, yeah.
I think the Aquarian, I think.
The Aquarian, right? Because he was, and then they assigned him to be the head of security at Project Pegasus.
Yeah,
that's right.
That is Project Pegasus. I think I was talking about.
Yeah. And then after a while, they decided, you know, he's an Avenger. He helped them out, and they usually used him on various things where there was some energy base because the quantum bands could identify energy. Then they could use him to manipulate that to their will. So if someone had a force field up, poof, now he gets to open up the force field, or he gets to identify some alien creature that's using a certain frequency of energy or something of that nature. And then he, of course, he was always the soft-spoken kind of passive guy in the background. He's not a very, you know, aggressive guy. And then they decided to do his own comic, and that's where Mark Greenwald just shined amazingly.
I think so.
Like you said, in the what to do with him. At the same time, it just gets so what term, cosmic, meta, out of this world, dimensional concepts, facing off about death. I'm not sure what Mark Greene was going through at that time, but he goes up against Death Urge, basically the cosmic entity of suicide.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oblivion. Yeah.
he goes against Oblivion. At some point, he dies, and I think this is the one that I want to do. It's somewhere in the 40s era. He goes up against the Punisher. He finds Marvel Boy again, or Marvel Boy gets recreated, and he comes back, and so he tries to fight Quasar, and then they end up in this room, this ultimate white room of all the protectors of the universes, and they're just stuck in these chairs. It's almost like a purgatory for all of them, and he's there, and then he has to break free of that, and and then they use him in at some point in the 90s, late 80s. They tried to create the Marvel New Universe, right? And this whole new type of a system that used the Star brand as a big power source of various individuals. So Quasar got sucked into that storyline because he can dimensional hop, and so there's some weird storylines. Don't let us fool you on Quasar. Don't let me fool you on Quasar, being that he's just this awesome guy. Where Spider-Man does cool stuff and he's got great stories. Quasar does great stories and does weird stuff.
Yep. I like weird. I'm a big Doctor Strange fan, dude.
Oh yeah, Doctor Strange or Doctor Who-ish is almost some of the things that he gets involved in.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, dude.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came in and have something to say about it. We should do a Bugbear's Basement on it because I like I said, you really talking about it, so I went and read it. Denali did the same thing, I think, and it's nice, dude. I like it.
Yeah, cool, awesome.
Now I don't know why Good Dog Press is saying sexy straight jacket, but he did. Dave's your uncle? Yes, I have an Uncle Dave, and he was a fisherman. And actually, one of the things about my Uncle Dave that was really cool was he's one of the best wood carvers I have ever seen. Now that might sound boring, but if you'd seen what he made, you wouldn't think so. Because every year my family would have a white elephant. I have an enormous family, right? I mean hundreds. I don't mean I got 8 family members. I got hundreds of family members, right? And we'd have a white elephant amongst the family, and his was always the one everyone would fight over. He made these amazing wooden things. It's just stunningly skilled, dude. But my Uncle Dave was cool. He was always nice to me too. And yeah. But anyway,
one last note on Quasar is he is very much the nice guy as well.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
He's very nice, very Captain America, kind of a, yet soft spoken, but he's also, and this is odd for me, he's also agnostic, to the nth degree, where he doesn't believe in higher power beyond all the higher cosmic powers, I guess.
Yeah, it is weird because he deals with that kind of stuff. Anyway, but maybe he's more on level with them. Therefore, that's the kind of point they're trying to make. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But all right, let's move on to the next one here. We have Booster's choice. Go ahead, Booster.
Wait, where is it?
It's you. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Booster. Whose is this? Brad.
Mine.
Sorry, Brad. Go ahead, Brad.
Mine at all, you silly bugger.
So I grew up in the 90s when Image happened, and honestly, if you've not read Spawn number 1 through 21 through number 24, I think you should.
All right,
get out.
What?
Or get out.
I'll read it.
Get out. What? Oh.
Yeah, you should read Spawn with one. I'd say more than one with 24, but I get
just
why
to
you
get a
said
sample.
that.
I think to get a good sample of it. The first 2 years of Spawn was great.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of people who come in my book, shop now, like what's Spawn, who's Spawn, blah blah blah. For the newer guys, but he's an original creation by Todd McFarlane. He's a former government assassin who got killed in the line of duty, makes a deal with the devil to just get back to his wife, but of course it's the devil, so it goes completely wrong. Comes back years later as his agent of, doing wrong deeds. Pretty much he's trying to turn him into his agent of hell, and it's just a great book. It's an overall cool concept. You get characters like the Violator, you get Angela before she switched to Marvel, which is awesome. I mean, it's just a fun ride, and he's learning how to, I mean, the devil's twisting everything around him, so trying to turn him by fighting back. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's just the thing for the devil, in the book, but it's just a great, fun read. It's great colors, great artwork. Dialogue is not the best. It was Todd writing it, so but it was fun. Original concept, original original character type design. Wasn't done before. Like that.
Yeah.
So
no, the art is really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, it's one of the best things that came out of Image. To be fair.
Yeah, very true. Yep.
Although I did enjoy Savage Dragon, even though I don't want to say that these days because that guy's lost his mind.
Early Savage Dragon was pretty good. It was pretty funny.
It was.
I
mean, what he's done with it, I really think he's lost his mind. I think something's happened to him, dude.
Spawn isn't as cringy as the Darkness, is it? Because
no, Spawn's not cringy at all. Yeah.
Oh, it's straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, I found the Darkness really cringy. I tried it because I love those video games, but that didn't turn out well for me.
Yeah, I mean, Booster, if you haven't read Spawn, definitely get your hands on.
I will put it on my list of many things I need to read.
Yeah, the first 2 issues, I think up to 200 is good. After that, you're hit and miss.
Yeah, I mean, Spawn probably took more of a back seat around that time, but now that he's back ready again, it's been pretty good. So, in fact, I think there's a key issue that just came out lately where Spawn finally got some new powers. So everybody's going kind of crazy trying to find that issue. But
I don't know. It's been so long, and you had so many multiple issues and multiple things that's happened. New Spawn, there are like 3 different new spawns in between that. It's kind of hard to get back into.
But it's all been the same book in the same numbering. He has not changed it at all. He's not made separate tie-in lines to Spawn. It's all been just Spawn. So he's just taking breaks from the story, told different.
We do have some. We have a comment here from the chat with all caps fandom menace. I loved Gaiman's and Sims issues, but was bored by the rest. The design was exactly the same as Todd had drawn the Prowler, except for the colors and chains. It's interesting. It's not particularly original. Spawn. I mean, we've seen this kind of concept many times. To be fair,
right? A lot of people said Spawn was kind of like a Spider-Man knockoff with the colors as well.
But the art is really good. It's well done. It's good storytelling through art, and for that in itself, it has value, and that's why it was such a huge hit. Was because it really attracted people's attention. It's costume design, right? It's wonderful. But
his page layouts are great too. I mean, just the pages, the way the layout and the artwork goes,
it's amazing.
Flows super well.
Yeah. Well, all right, cool. Spawn, of course, that has to be mentioned, and books we love, I'd assume. But let's go over here and let's move over to another one of Denali's. Now, Denali here has something that I remember reading when I was real little, and I haven't thought about this in forever, man. But go ahead, Denali.
This is The Mercenary by Vicente Segretles. I probably butchered that last name as well.
You didn't just butcher it. You killed it and buried it.
Yes, I say so. Yes. Well, that's all right. Go ahead.
But it's basically your D&D kind of fanfare going on with the mercenary right here, saving the girl from their capture, riding a dragon, fighting mystical beasts and everything. What the story is kind of simple, simplistic, but what really draws me to the eye is the art style, which is oil paintings. he drew and painted all his issues in the oil painting, so it looks fantastic. The landscape looks fantastic. It's like watching. It's like reading one of those paintings in a museum's, art gallery, and it's just telling you a story because it's so wonderful.
It's near Valio. It's near Valio. It's not quite that level. It's certainly not Frazetta. His style is quite different, but it's near it. And just for me, I'll let you continue and explain what it's about. But just for me, I don't know, what was I, 11, 12 when I started reading this, and I was all about the D&D at that age. I was all about D&D. And this was one of the cool. This just blew me away as a kid. It was like, oh my god, right? And I loved it. I don't remember. I don't, as an adult, I haven't read this since I was like 11, 12, 13, something like that. But I don't know how good the story is, but boy, do I remember this book.
Right. And the mercenary, which is the title of the main character, he doesn't go by any name. They just call him the mercenary.
Yeah.
And he goes around, like I said, doing these quests, doing these tasks, and he eventually joins up with this group called the Crater that is hidden away, and he does their bidding by going out and getting these relics or saving this person to kind of help raise the influence of the Crater and protect the Crater from those who wants to use its powers. So this is basically what the story is all about. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing, that's hard to grasp, but the art style going through the journey is awesome. And right off the front, this is not safe for work. There's a lot of nudity and some blood, but otherwise it's a fantastic work.
Ooh, I'm interested.
Yeah, it is interesting, man. It's literally been decades since I've thought of this book. Where did you find it, dude? Because I've literally haven't heard of this in decades. It's not even an exaggeration.
One of the local comic books store that I frequent had it, and I bought it.
Cool. That's a bit of nostalgia for me. You ever read this, Brad?
I have not. No.
Nobody else probably. This is so obscure. This is crazy obscure. But it is. I don't remember the story at all. I remember him. I remember what he was doing. I remember the art a lot. But I do. What I do most remember is that I loved it because it was all part of that D&D world that I was so happy to play and be friend, go with my friends and play games on the weekends. And oh yeah, this is a great memory.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check it out, you can go to Amazon, buy the Kindle version or the hardcover for $9.99 for the Kindle, or the hardcover $14, which is about what I paid by that comic book store that I went to.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's move on to my last offer for today. And it's also got Denelli's last offer as well. Looks like Brad has something up, but we'll get to that next. Now the one on the left is Denelli's, and the one on the right is mine. So let's talk about mine first. Now, I'm assuming that most everybody here knows this book, so it's probably not nothing interesting and obscure like Denelli just brought up. But I love this series, man. I haven't read all of it, but I'm near the end of it. Yeah, I just love this series. It's good old-fashioned comic books with a really nice twist. It's a great book. I don't want to say much about it because if you haven't read it, I want you to go read it and be surprised. I don't want to spoil anything. But it's a great classic, superhero storytelling. And it's just it's killer, man. Have you guys read this?
Man, isn't that like 300 issues long or something?
No, it's not that long. It's like 144, I think.
144, really?
Yeah.
Well, whatever. It's got a lot.
Because I'm at issue 85, so. But yeah, I've been reading it. It's a good book.
It is. What about you, DeWolf? You ready of the Invincible?
I have not. No, I like the idea. First off, that he looks like an older guy.
Well, that no,
That's
no,
not
the
the main
that's his
kid,
dad.
the one in the yellow.
Sorry to break it to you.
What?
That's the kid.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Let me give it the smallest synopsis for it.
So you gotta fill me in then.
I will. Okay, the dude up top is the father. Okay, and then the father is the world's greatest superhero. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's a Superman analog, right?
Yeah, he's
The
Oni Man.
and this is his son, and he is waiting for the day that his powers become strong enough that he can be a superhero. He's thinking about costume design, and they have a costume designer they go to, etc., etc. And then something happens that turns his world upside down. Of course,
Yep.
I'm not going to get into what that is, but yeah, the guy up top is the dad, and this is the son down here, and
It
he's
sounds like a great
basically
premise,
yeah,
though,
it
right?
is. Yeah, he's a Superman type, meaning he can fly, he can punch hard, he can take abuse. I mean, he's that kind. But this
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
story is so full of cool little ideas, nuances, twists. It's really cool. I love the book.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about before on the show, and that is allowing superheroes to get older. And I'm not saying it needs to be on a year by year basis, but if you made Batman at this point actually be older in DC,
Mhm.
and he's now mentoring other younger people. I mean, he obviously has mentored them, but it gets to the point where he now needs to actually be old and retire out from that concept, and now take a backseat, do the mental game. Of course, I'm not sure if Superman would age at all, but some of the other ones, allowing them to age, get older like that, and then new creative people come up with different people, and then come around while you still have these older guys that are their powers are going to change, things are going to happen, be a little geriatric maybe. I think the world of the old superhero would be really interesting to see.
It would be, but that's not
Mhm.
this story at all.
No, no. I would cross this book between Superman and Dragon Ball Z. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
because the more he fights, the stronger he gets.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
that concept of it. Yeah, yeah.
Does he
Um,
power up and scream though for 5 episodes?
No,
No,
he does not.
he does not.
So
That
well,
sounds
only
like
that's a
Superman.
improvement.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, go read it. If you haven't read this, go read this.
yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
this is a bigger recommend than
It is
small.
very bloody, so be careful.
Oh
Well, it
yeah.
is.
Okay.
Once again, it's not for kids.
And
That's true.
because you're saying that the hero is the young guy, so
Correct.
80% of the book is involved in the young guy and what in his adventuring and superheroing.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
okay.
And the weird abuse he suffers in the first issue. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff. It
yeah.
is
His world
it is
turned
really well
upside
done. It's a
down. Yeah.
solid story. There's solid dynamic. It's not thin at all.
So what you're saying is that there's a villain that they really knew how to write a good villain in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Right? Because
yeah.
the hero is only as heroic as the villain is villainous, right?
Oh no, it's absolutely beautiful villain.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yes, it is. That's true. But anyway, that's my offer. Let's go over here to Denali's last, and we'll come over to Brad's. And Booster, if you have a last that you want to show or to Wolf, just go find it and share screen it, and I'll white box you guys. But let's do Denali's last one first.
All right. So my last offering for today's shows is The Last Days of American Crime by Rick Ramander. And this story deals with an old criminal named Graham who's in the background holding the gun as he sets up this big heist before he retires. And then finds out that in a week, because this is set kind of like in a futuristic world, sort of, that the government is going to stop all crimes by starting these nano AIs that's going to stop people from committing crimes. So it's kind of like a um, time deadline that he has to commit this crime before these AIs awaken and nobody does crime supposedly. Um, so it's basically him gathering his crew and then executing the plan, kind of like Ocean's 11 or 8. and trying to get the whatever he's trying to steal before they activate it. Very mature. It's Rick Remender, so you know what you're getting into with the dialogue. But the art is wonderful, which is another reason. Kind of like I've been taking what Todd has been saying about art, direction, coloring, and all that. And it's, this is a kind of like a beautiful book as well. So this is one of the reasons why I chose this as an offering to look at the artwork as well, because it's really kind of purposeful of how they stylize this work. It's some people might be put off with it, and and I'm just putting it up front, but other people would enjoy the artwork within.
Cool. Has anybody read this?
Nope.
Nope. Neither have I. I do like the cover. I think it's the art is interesting. It's kind of that, as Todd would say, that painterly cover. Is that what you call this, Brad?
I don't know. I like half naked ladies on the front. Sure.
No, we'll talk about the art style, dude.
Oh, well, I mean, it looks like a lady.
Okay,
she's
all right.
painted
That's
well.
yeah,
The lighting's good.
Yeah.
I don't like that she's smoking. But
let's talk color. Look at the color of the room that she is in versus the room that he is in.
Yeah,
well, it
cool
leads
gray.
me to thinking he's the hero and she's the trouble.
Well, of course it is. A woman are awful.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Goodness.
The opinions of our guests are not those held by the management. But, I haven't checked it out, but you know what? I will, because I do love the art. When I was going to collect a representation of it in LA, I saw a lot of the art and I was like, wow, this is real pretty. So, yeah, it's certainly as far as checking out art. Does the wee bird ever behave? No, I don't think so.
No.
And this is a mature title as well, and it has nudity, so viewer discretion is advised.
Well, we said that a lot today, huh?
Yeah. And that's the kind of theme is a lot of these books that we're reading, are not really kids books, they're not really kid friendly.
No, there's not a lot of kids comics these days.
No, there isn't. And we're not kids.
Yeah.
We're big boys. We wipe our own butts.
Yeah.
True, and I actually have kids old enough to have their own kids. So, I'm not a grandpa yet, though. Not yet.
But I do want to find books that, both the adult and the kid can read together and enjoy it together,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, we really do need to have a push to get more kids' book. They need to push toward the kids because, this is something else you and I were talking about earlier, Denali.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over here in Japan, the Japanese kids are absolutely obsessed with video games, just like they are in the West. I mean, obsessed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Toys are dead. But over here, unlike in the West, over here, it's not all, but it's not 100%, but it's very near it. All the kids over here are reading manga as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they love their video games and they also have the manga and of course the anime as well. But a lot of kids here, they don't like a lot of the anime that come out. A lot of the anime, it's just this factory system where it pumps out this anime, and it seems to be consumed in the West longer than it does here, because the kids are like, no, it's not as good as the manga. No, it's not as good as the manga, and they fail. This is something that I think people who watch Crunchyroll and stuff like that don't understand. A lot of these things you're watching, the Japanese have rejected because the anime is not good enough. That's how serious they are about their manga, right? So here in Japan, it works just fine. I mean, the manga industry is incredibly healthy, whereas the Western one is like diseased and missing limbs. It's like it's got leprosy or something.
They
But
market the kids. They get them started when they're young. Manga drawing groups after school. They have all sorts of programs.
And you'd think that in a time where these movies are making billions of dollars, you'd think the comics would be selling a bit more than they are.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the big differences, Booster, is you can buy a manga here anywhere. Go to a convenience store, manga. Go to the pharmacy, go to the bookstore, go to
a gas station.
Gas station, yeah, anywhere, dude. You're going to find manga. It's
they
everywhere.
have spinner racks.
What? Yeah.
Yes, they do.
And what you don't find over here? nowhere except for your local comic book store. If your local comic book store has such property that you're looking for.
Well, I believe in Japan too. One, the distribution is better, but also that if it doesn't sell, they buy them back, recycle the books, and put them in the next book, the paper. So,
they do that here, yeah.
Yeah.
Japanese aren't collectors like that. Actually, what they do is very interesting. They will take the big old huge phone book thick stuff that comes out every week, which is crazy the amount of content they produce. And they take that and they will recycle it constantly. So it was here. They don't collect those per se. But what happens is, if the story is very popular, they will take that story and they'll put it into a much smaller format, which often can be colored. Not always, but a lot of times it ends up colored in those formats. And then you can buy that series of it, that specific story, and those they'll collect. Like
which
my
is
kids
what we
have
get over here. Yeah.
The trade paperbacks.
Kinda. It's
they're smaller little chapter books.
Yeah,
they're little things. Yeah, but you go look in my kids' room. They have bookshelves in there that are just absolutely filled of series like that. But the big old ones that come out weekly, there's none of that hardly.
Yeah, but no, what I mean though is like a convenience store gets like 10 issues or whatever of the book. There's 3 left over. Whoever's distributing takes those books back. They don't charge the retailer for them. They recycle them and then put them back into new books. Here, it's messed up where I buy a book, doesn't sell, it just sits on my shelf. They don't buy them back, recycle them, put them into new product.
Well, it actually goes deeper than that, though, Brad, because the people who buy them, these the initial ones that come out, the big, like I said, the big phone book anthologies is what they are, collections. They will turn those in as well, and those get recycled. People don't keep those. If they like the story, they go buy the individual. That's what I mean. It goes deeper than just the convenience store turning it back in. The people turn it back in.
Well, yeah, but that's part of the thing, though. I mean, because the distribution here, you can only get local comic book shops. They don't buy them back. They cost too much for the product you're getting. So it's a completely ass backwards system compared to how they do it over there. And there's no programs for kids here to get into comics. They cut artwork in schools. They don't promote to kids anymore. They only promote to the current base. The only thing that they're promoting to kids is the IP through cartoons, serial, games, things like that. Yeah. They don't do that here at all.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. But anyway, let's go over here and look at Brad's last offer. It seems like Booster and DeWolf aren't sharing anything. I guess this will be the last one.
Well, I got plenty of other stuff that I'm reading at the moment. I just shared all my backlog stuff because those stories are good. Everything else I'm reading is like Doomsday Clock, which I like, and Heroes in Crisis, which is crap, but I'm reading it because Booster Gold's in it.
I see. All right. Well, that's fine. And of course, you can save some of that for next week,
Yeah, of course.
But here you go, Brad. Tell us about it.
So Wetworks is a group of not mercenaries, but a covert ops team called Team 7. And they are sent on a suicide mission. And during that suicide mission, one of them gets infected with a golden symbiote. And finds out he's bulletproof and they're about to be killed. So the leader of the team says, "Hey, everybody, let's grab all the symbiotes, put them on." And then they come out through the firefight. And then that's where their adventure starts. But they take on battling things like vampires and different government organizations, shadow governments, things like that. So it's over the top. It's over the top action, over the top artwork. It's X-Men, meets a covert ops team. So it's not bad. It's a fun read. Don't take it too seriously. Will Portacio does it. I think his sister came up with the idea, and then she passed away. And then he finished it out for her. So
that's cool. And for some reason, my brain is saying I know this. Is this from the 90s?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, that screams 90s, just from
Oh,
the
it totally does. Will Sportacio used to do
coloring.
X Factor. So
I see.
Yep. Along with Jim Lee. He was one of the founding members of Image, but he's the only one who never had his own studio. He did it under Wildstorm with Jim Lee.
Oh, it has an imagey look, yeah.
Well, it says Image on the bottom right.
Oh yeah, no, I see the big eye. Yeah, this, I think I probably looked at this at one time. That name is just sticking with me, and especially the lettering. But
he's the nicest guy in the world, by the way. Will Sportacio. If you ever get to meet him, he will chat your ear off. He's the coolest dude out there for the 90s artists. I mean, he's just so humble. He's a great dude.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice to hear, dude. Anybody have any comments on Wetworks here?
Nope.
All right.
I have literally never heard of it.
Booster would like it, though. It's right up his alley.
Would I? What makes you think of that?
Because I know your personality so far. Yeah.
How dare you assume my comic preferences?
Don't lie.
How dare you assume my personality?
Yeah. Disgusting.
Double meaning. Interesting. Yeah, anyway, there's some offers from us today. Thank you guys for joining us. It's nice to talk about things we like, and as you might have noticed, there's a lot of old books on here, and it's not just because most of us are a little older, because I especially since I've been doing the reviews with Brad, I've been reading a lot more new stuff, and the problem is, it's just not good, man. I have a hard time finding something that's good. And
even look at me, Chester. I'm 26 and I've only been reading comics for 4 years now, and I prefer reading stuff from the 80s and 90s, like Frank Miller's Daredevil, Chuck Dixon's Batman, and Justice League International. I'd much rather read that stuff than most of what's coming out today.
It's a problem, man. You know, something else I'm noticing, and maybe you guys have been noticing it too, is I'm seeing so many of these indie books that are basically just complete straight ripoffs of stories I've seen before. Like there was this one I saw I was reading just yesterday or the day before. It's called Endgame. I can't even remember what company it's from. But basically, this guy allows himself to die or take on the persona of Lazarus and go into hell to save his wife and child who have died and went to hell unfairly, and he's fighting his way through hell to save them. Sounds like a great concept, right? Well, I've seen this concept 4 or 5 times done, and the best one I saw was actually back in '82 or '83, which was I can't remember the name of the comic book, but that was killer. But they just keep taking these a lot of these aren't original ideas, and it's not that it's near or similar; they're identical, and I'm kind of wondering how they're getting away with that. But yeah, there's just not a lot of good stuff, man. It's tough. But this show is about things we like, so we're going to keep pushing to find things we like that are new. And I did offer Monstrous, and that's new-ish. When did that come out? A year or 2 ago?
2015, I think.
Yeah.
That was newish, and like I said, I liked it. And Denali had a few new ones he likes, but just keep digging. I know what we got to do is we got to talk about the Black Monday murders and stuff like that, because those are new and they're really good. Anybody have any closing comments they want to make?
Well, I know that the Last Days of American Crime has been optioned by Netflix, so that's going to be shown on Netflix maybe next year. They got a couple of staffs casting on it. I'm actually reading the Black Mondays books and slots as well. So we'll be talking about it in the future, I suppose, once I'm done reading it.
Sure. And there are some good things that are coming out. And that Black Sunday Murder particularly is absolutely stunning. Anyway, anybody else?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm gonna be reading through the actual Real Dazzler, comics here pretty soon. I put that on order. Of course, that wasn't for me necessarily, but I'm gonna be reading along with her, and since she's not since I know she's not listening to the show today at the moment, then I can go ahead and say that because she doesn't know it's coming. And that's going to be interesting to be reading it with her. So that's going to be pretty cool to give you the review on that. Yeah.
No, and yeah, we certainly enjoy having Dazzler on, dude. She is a very clever girl, and she is very, very honest.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's something
yeah,
we talked about earlier was about kids and about how some of the things that are out there. There's a lot of independent things just due to the fact that they're independent and they're not DC Marvel. DC Marvel has for the longest always been available also to kids and younger people, and also the new movement that's coming out in independence, Comicsgate. It seems to be able to be read by kids, not some of these other things where there's crime and half naked women on the covers. And that's something that I've been looking at because surprise, surprise, I'm working on a story, and that's something that has come up through part of the creative process is where does it fit in with the genre of being able to be read by kids, which definitely I want that to happen. So what line is there between is it no longer able to be read by a kid? What can you do? Do you breach that aspect? And of course, we all know that the kids like to read up. They don't like to read down anyway. So you don't have to make a story for kids. You just have to leave out certain elements that are, over the top that even adults get squeamish about seeing, blood, gore, and
yeah, sure.
relationship issues.
Yeah. Oh well, awesome. And that is, those are all very true comments. And Valen has her closing comment, and she says, "Hail Raven!" Indeed. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us. As always, we really appreciate all the support you guys have, and hopefully you had fun in the comments. And like I said, this show right here, we're talking about books we love, and I think of all the shows we do, uh, those of you in the chat that can have an opinion, come up here and join us and tell us about the books you're reading that you love. I think this is a good show for a lot of you. I know some of you are, maybe you don't know everything that's going on in the news or all these kind of things. We have to, because we're all doing homework back here, right? But something that you're reading and you love, well, you can certainly talk about that. So just get in touch with me. Use those links down below and tell me to put you on the show. And this show right here, I think you would enjoy. So other than that, thank you all very much. You guys can get us through my contacts below, or you can go to FanSpeak on Facebook and contact us easy enough. But other than that, Denali, take us out, man.
Well, thank you for joining us. Hope to see you tomorrow with Comics News Today. But as always, your perception shapes your reality, so always make it a good one.
Namaste.
Later, guys.
Aloha.